Hello, my name's Lucas. I'm 27 and I live in a small town just outside of Portland, Oregon. It's quiet here. I rent a modest one-bedroom apartment above a bike repair shop and I work as a home appliance technician fixing dishwashers, dryers, the occasional coffee maker. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me moving. I've never been much of a talker. Never had a real relationship either. I guess I always figured it would just happen someday. But someday kept not showing up. Most mornings, my routine was carved in stone. I'd stop by this little coffee shop 2 blocks from my shop, grab a medium black coffee, no sugar, and head to my first job. Same time, same order every day. And every day it was the same person behind the counter, Sophia. She looked maybe 5 years older than me. Red hair, tied-back tattoos on her forearm, always wore these soft, neutral colors, and never smiled unless it was genuine. She wasn't fake nice. She was real. She had this dry, easy sarcasm in her tone that made people laugh without even realizing it. But I never said more than a couple words to her. Medium black, no sugar, thanks. That was it every time. She probably didn't even notice me. I was just another customer. Then one Tuesday, I was running a bit behind and grabbed my coffee on the go like always. Got to my first appointment, fixed a leaky garbage disposal, reached for my phone to confirm the next address, and it was gone. I backtracked in my head. The only place it could have been was the coffee shop. I panicked a bit, went back there fast, but it wasn't where I'd been sitting. I asked the guy at the register and he looked confused. Said Sophia had gone out for a quick delivery or something. That was strange. Baristas didn't usually leave the building mid-shift. I figured I'd just check back later, but I didn't have to. As I was standing outside my workshop trying to make calls on the landline like it was 1998, a silver Honda pulled up. She stepped out, Sophia with my phone in her hand. "You dropped this," she said, waving a little. I was stunned. "How did you had your shop sticker on the back?" It wasn't hard. She handed it to me and I was so thrown off I almost forgot to say thank you. "You came all the way here just to return it?" I asked. She shrugged. "Well, I figured you'd be lost without it. Plus, I was curious where medium black no sugar actually works." I chuckled awkwardly, but it was genuine. "You remembered that?" She tilted her head. "Of course I did. You're in here every day on the dot. I remember all the regulars, but you never say much. It's kind of mysterious." I could feel my ears burning. "I don't really do mornings." She smiled, and for a second there was a pause in the air like something had just shifted. Then she said, "Well, now you've spoken more words to me than in the last 6 months combined. So, I guess this makes us friends." That caught me off guard. I laughed nervously. "Guess it does." She nodded. "All right, mystery man. Don't go losing that again." Then she got back in her car and pulled away. I just stood there, phone in hand, heart doing something strange in my chest. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a background character in my own life. I didn't know what to do with that feeling. But I knew one thing. That morning when she pulled up and smiled was the first moment I felt something real. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was worried or stressed, but because my mind kept replaying those 10 minutes in the parking lot. Her voice, her sarcasm, that little flicker of something in her eyes. I think that's when it started. I didn't fall in love. Not yet. But something inside me cracked open. For once, I wanted to keep showing up. Not just for the coffee, but for her. The next few days after Sophia brought my phone, I was useless. Every time I walked into that coffee shop, I felt like my legs didn't work right. My voice would catch before I even ordered. And she didn't make it easier. She started talking to me like we were actually friends. Not in some over-the-top bubbly way, just casually, like the way you'd talk to someone you'd known for years. "Hey," she'd say when I walked in, still running on caffeine and awkward silence. I'd smile. Sometimes I'd mumble a one-liner back. Other times, I'd just stand there looking at her like I forgot what I came in for. But slowly, really slowly, I got braver. I started replying with something more than thanks. One day, I saw her cleaning out the pastry case and asked, "Don't you get sick of this place?" She looked up. "Oh yeah, but I also got bills and a 6-year-old with a thing for dinosaur chicken nuggets. So here I am." I was quiet for a second. Then I said, "You've got a kid." She nodded, didn't flinch. "Yeah, Alex, he's in first grade. Loves volcanoes and hates brushing his teeth." "What about you? Any secret family hiding somewhere?" I laughed. "Just me. Never really got around to building a family." "Still time," she said. That stuck with me the whole day. Over the next couple of weeks, it became a pattern. I'd stop by for coffee and we'd talk about nothing about everything. Her favorite books, my weird customers, how she once dyed her hair green in college and cried for a week. She told stories easily, like she didn't care if you judged her. And the more I listened, the more I realized she carried something heavy. She didn't say it out loud, but you could see it in her eyes when she talked about her ex. You could hear it in her pauses. She was hurt, not broken, just tired. I didn't try to fix it. I wasn't some savior, but I showed up every day. Sometimes I'd leave her dumb little notes on napkins. "Today's weather cloudy with a 90% chance of me being awkward." She'd roll her eyes, but I knew she smiled when I wasn't looking. Then one Friday it was different. The sun had already dipped and I was walking home from a late job when I passed the shop and saw her locking up. I hesitated. Then I crossed the street. "Hey," I said. She turned. "Lucas, past your bedtime." I smiled. "Just finished work." She held her keys loosely like she wasn't in a rush. "Want to walk a little?" "I don't feel like going straight home." I didn't even have to think. Yeah, sure." We walk without saying much at first, just the sound of her boots and my sneakers on the sidewalk. A few blocks down, she pointed out a house with Christmas lights still up, even though it was March. "Some people just refuse to move on," she said. I glanced at her, wondering if she meant someone else. "You miss him?" I asked gently. She didn't answer right away. I missed the idea of him, the guy I thought he was, not the one he actually became. We kept walking. Eventually, we reached this park with a wooden bench under a street lamp. She sat down. I sat beside her. She pulled out a small thermos from her bag. "Want some tea? It's probably lukewarm." I nodded. "Sure." We drank and listened to the wind. Then quietly, she said, "You're different. It's different how you're not trying to get anything from me. You're just here." I don't know if I've ever had that before. My heart was pounding. Not like a romantic movie moment. More like my body was freaking out because it knew I was about to do something bold. I turned toward her. She didn't look away. And before I could stop myself, I asked, "What would you do if I kissed you right now?" There was maybe half a second of silence. Then she smiled, small but real. She leaned in slightly, not all the way, just enough for me to feel her breath. "Find out," she whispered. So I did. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't music swelling. It wasn't like in the movies. It was real. Her lips were soft, but there was a sadness in the way she kissed me, like she'd been here before, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to open that door again. When we pulled away, she looked at me for a long time. I didn't know what to say. I just stared back. Finally, she said, "I haven't done that in a long time." "Me neither," I admitted. She stood up. "I should get home." I nodded. We didn't hug. We didn't make promises. She just smiled, tired but warm, and walked away. I stood there for a long time after she left, wondering what just happened, wondering if it meant something, wondering if I just made the biggest mistake or the best decision of my life. The morning after the kiss, I woke up before my alarm. For the first time in a long time, my chest felt light, like something was lifting off it instead of pressing down. I actually looked forward to getting out of bed. I even showered without rushing, shaved, put on the least wrinkled shirt I had. I walked into the coffee shop. Sophia was behind the counter just like always, but something was off. She didn't greet me the way she usually did. No sarcastic nickname, no smile, just a quick glance. "Hey," I paused. "Hey, medium black." She nodded, turned around, poured it silently. No small talk, no jokes. When she handed it to me, our fingers touched. Nothing. She pulled back fast and turned away to the next customer. I stood there for a second, hoping maybe she'd look back. She didn't. I left cup in hand, heart sinking like a stone. All day I tried to come up with reasons. Maybe she was tired. Maybe her son had a rough night. Maybe she didn't sleep well. But by noon, the truth started whispering. She regrets it. I didn't want to believe that. That kiss had felt real to me. Not lust, not confusion, something honest. And I was sure she'd felt it too. But the look in her eyes that morning, that wasn't the look of someone floating. That was the look of someone building a wall. I waited a day then too. No texts, no calls, no napkin notes, no tea in the park. By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. It was Thursday night. Her shift usually ended around 7 o'clock. I walked to the shop just before closing. I stood outside for a minute, heart racing, then opened the door. There were only 2 customers inside. She saw me. Her face tightened for half a second, almost like surprise, but then went blank again. "Hey," I said, walking up to the counter. "Can we talk?" She hesitated. "I'm closing in 5. I'll wait." I sat down near the window, my stomach twisted with every tick of the clock. She slid into the seat across from me, arms crossed, eyes a little tired. She didn't speak first, so I did. "Did I do something wrong?" She blinked. "No, you didn't do anything wrong." "Then why are you avoiding me?" She exhaled through her nose, looked down at the table. "I'm not avoiding you," she said softly. "I'm protecting myself." I frowned. "From me?" She shook her head. "From what this could turn into." There was a long pause. "I like the kiss," she said finally. "Maybe more than I wanted to. And that scares me." "Why?" "Because my life is already messy. Lucas. I've got a kid. I've got an ex who suddenly decided he wants to play dad again. I don't have room for feelings that make me lose sleep." I looked down. I didn't know what to say. Every word I had rehearsed sounded wrong now. She leaned forward. When I said, "You're different," that's part of the problem. "I'm not asking for anything complicated," I said. "I just like being around you. That's exactly why I'm scared." She whispered. The silence between us wasn't angry or cold. It was heavy, like we both wanted to say something, but knew it wouldn't fix anything right now. I nodded slowly. Okay, I repeated. "I get it. I don't like it, but I get it." She looked surprised. "You're not going to argue." "I've never been good at arguing," I said. "Especially not when I know someone's hurting." She smiled sadly. "You're a good guy, Lucas." I stood up. "Yeah, that's kind of my whole thing." She stood too. "Take care." "Okay." I gave her a small nod, then turned to leave. Before I got to the door, she called out softly. "Wait," I looked back. "I'm not saying never," she said. "I'm just saying not now." I nodded again, not trusting myself to speak. Then I walked out. That night I didn't sleep. But it wasn't the same kind of sleepless as before. It wasn't heartbreak. Not really. It was confusion, emptiness. I didn't feel rejected. I felt paused like life had started something, but left the rest of the page blank. Over the next few days, I didn't go back to the coffee shop. Not because I didn't want to, but because I respected what she said. Not now meant give me space. And I didn't want to be another man pushing past her boundaries. I still thought about her every morning. Still looked at the clock out of habit. Still wondered if she ever thought about me, too. One night, I wrote a message but didn't send it. I meant every word. "I'm still here if you ever change your mind. I'm not going anywhere." I saved it in drafts and closed my phone. Sometimes the hardest part of love isn't the heartbreak. It's the waiting. It had been 26 days since I last saw Sophia. I wasn't counting on purpose, but every morning I'd look at the clock without even meaning to. Every time I passed the coffee shop on my way to a job, my eyes would flick toward the front window, even if I kept walking. I hadn't stepped inside since the night she said, "Not now." I stuck to what I promised space. No texts, no unannounced visits, no just checking in. But I thought about her constantly, not just the kiss. Everything. The way she stirred her tea twice before drinking. How she'd crinkle her nose when something confused her. The way she smiled like she didn't quite trust happiness to stay. I missed her, but more than that, I missed being seen. Really seen by someone who didn't expect me to be anything other than what I already was. Then on a Wednesday evening, something changed. I got home from work, tossed my bag on the couch, made some terrible spaghetti, and was halfway through a documentary I wasn't really watching when I heard a soft thump outside my door. I paused, waited, then got up and opened it. Nothing. No one in the hallway, but on the floor sat a paper coffee cup my usual size. No lid, just a folded note sticking out the top. I bent down, picked it up slowly. There, written in blue ink on a napkin, still black, no sugar. I stared at it for a long moment, unsure if I was dreaming. There was more inside. A second folded note tucked carefully into the cup. If you still want to talk, I'll be on our bench this Sunday. No expectations, no pressure, no name, no number, but I didn't need either. My heart jumped. I hadn't realized how much weight I'd been carrying until that exact second when it lifted. Just slightly. The next few days dragged. I didn't even pretend to act normal at work. I dropped a microwave on my foot, mixed up 2 repair appointments, and caught myself staring out the window of the break room like some character in a sad indie film. By the time Sunday came, I was a wreck. I got to the park 20 minutes early. Our bench sat under a tall maple tree, slightly tilted from years of weather with paint peeling along the edges. I sat hands in my pockets, legs bouncing nervously. I told myself not to panic. Maybe she was parking. Maybe she got held up. Then I heard footsteps. I turned and there she was, Sophia. Hair tied back, no makeup, an old hoodie and jeans carrying a small thermos in a paper bag. She looked exactly like I remembered and nothing like I'd seen her before. She walked over and sat down beside me without a word and held out the thermos. I brought tea, she said. It's probably lukewarm again. I don't mind. I took a sip. It was perfect. For a minute, we just sat there, the quiet stretching between us like a warm blanket instead of a wall. Finally, she spoke. I almost didn't come. I looked over. Why did you? She sighed. Because I couldn't stop thinking about that night. Not the kiss. What you said after. What did I say? You said you like being around me. That's all. No conditions, no pressure. I nodded. She looked out at the street. I've had so many people try to fix me or act like I'm some damaged thing they want to rescue. You didn't do that. You just listened. That's all I ever wanted to do. She turned to me. My ex came back into the picture. Not for me, for Alex. He wants weekend visits now. He's sober again. Says he's trying. I stayed quiet. I didn't know if I could trust any man after him. She continued. And then you showed up and I felt something which terrified me. I exhaled slowly. Sophia, I never wanted to complicate your life. I know, she said. And that's what made you different. Another pause. She reached into the paper bag and pulled out 2 store-bought cookies. She handed me one. We bit into them in silence. Chocolate chip. A little stale. Still good. Then she asked, do you still think about that night all the time I admitted? And if I told you I wasn't ready for something serious, but I wanted to start again just a little slower, would that be okay? I turned to her. Are we talking coffee slow or park bench slow? She laughed. Really laughed. Somewhere in between. I nodded. Then yeah, that's okay. We sat there until the sun dipped low behind the trees. Not as 2 people rushing into anything, but as 2 people quietly agreeing. This matters. When we finally stood, she didn't say goodbye. She just looked at me and said, I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, I asked. Same time. She walked off toward her car and I stayed for a minute longer finishing the tea and staring at the empty bench. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel stuck. I felt like we were moving slowly, honestly together. It's been 10 months since that day on the park bench. I remember every part of it. Her voice, her hands wrapped around that lukewarm thermos, her eyes when she said somewhere in between. That moment became the turning point. Not a grand confession, not a promise, just permission to begin again. We didn't rush. That was the key. No declarations, no pressure. We texted, we called, I started coming by the coffee shop again, but not every morning like before, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes I'd leave her a note. Sometimes she'd sneak me a muffin when her manager wasn't looking. I met Alex. He was exactly what she said. Tiny hurricane energy, all limbs and dinosaur facts and opinions on everything. I was nervous as hell, but Sophia made it feel natural. I wasn't trying to be a second dad. I was just a guy who fixed a broken toaster and happened to know how to draw T-Rexes with scary teeth. We started doing little things together. Picnics, farmers markets, movie nights at her apartment. The three of us would eat popcorn while Alex fell asleep halfway through, and Sophia and I would sit in silence afterward, too content to speak. We never used the word relationship for a long time, not because it wasn't one, but because naming it too soon would have made it feel fragile, like something we could break just by speaking it out loud. She had her hard days. Sometimes she'd shut down, go quiet for hours. Once I came over and found her sitting on the bathroom floor holding a picture of Alex when he was a baby. She didn't say much, just I thought my life was going to be so different. I didn't try to fix her pain. I just sat beside her. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You make it easier to breathe." That was the night I knew I was in love. Not the dizzy, dramatic kind, the quiet, earned kind. The kind that doesn't shout, but shows up every day. I got laid off from the repair shop. Business slowed down and I was the newest hirer, so they let me go. It hit me hard, not just financially, emotionally. I felt small, like I had nothing to offer her anymore. I stopped texting for 2 days. On the third day, she showed up at my place unannounced, stood in my doorway, and said, "Don't disappear on me, Lucas. Not after everything." I told her I felt like a loser. She said, "Well, I felt like a failure when I signed my divorce papers, and yet here we are, neither of us broken, just rebuilding." She helped me rewrite my resume, got me in touch with a friend of hers who managed maintenance for a school district. I got hired within 2 weeks. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady and honest and mine. By fall, we had a rhythm. Alex started 2nd grade. I moved into a new place closer to them. Still my own apartment, but a 5-minute walk away. Some evenings I'd cook dinner. Other nights we'd walk to the bookstore just to look at covers and pretend we were sophisticated. And somewhere between warm meals, spilled juice boxes, and nights on that saggy couch of hers, Sophia started smiling differently. Not like before, not the practiced one she used with customers or friends. This smile was softer, realer. It was the smile of someone who let her guard down and didn't regret it. I brought up the idea of living together, not as a surprise, not with some ring and a cupcake or anything crazy, just over a quiet breakfast. She was spreading peanut butter on toast. I said, "What would you think about maybe getting a place together? The 3 of us." She didn't answer right away. Just finished making the toast, set it on the plate, sat down. Then she said, "You're the first man I've ever trusted to share a roof with again. So yeah, let's find a place." We didn't make a big deal about it. We just started looking. We found a 2-bedroom duplex on a quiet street. Backyard for Alex. A little kitchen with terrible yellow tile. But she liked it, so I did too. Today is our first morning in our new place. Alex is still sleeping. Sophia's curled up on a couch in one of my hoodies, her feet tucked under her, reading a book. The house smells like cinnamon rolls and old paint. I sit down beside her. She leans into me without speaking. We don't need to say much anymore. We just know. Still, I say, "Do you remember what I asked you that night in the park?" She smiles without looking up. "You asked what I'd do if you kissed me." And she closes her book, turns her head toward me, eyes soft. I said, "Find out." I grin. Still feel the same. She puts her hand on mine more than ever. I kiss her. It's different now. Not nervous, not unsure, just right. When we pull away, she whispers, "Thank you for waiting. Thank you for being patient with me." I shake my head. "You weren't the one who needed fixing, Sophia. I think I just needed someone to believe I was worth showing up for." She holds my gaze. "You were from the start. That's how it ends. Not with a grand proposal or a dramatic speech. Not with violins or rooftop views. Just 2 people who didn't rush it. Who carried their scars into something honest. Who built love like a house brick by brick, breath by breath. And now we live here together." The story of Lucas and Sophia beautifully illustrates a profound life lesson. Genuine love blooms not from grand gestures or hurried pursuits, but from patient persistence and the quiet courage to show up authentically, even when vulnerability feels terrifying. Lucas, a reserved appliance technician, doesn't chase Sophia with dramatic flair. Instead, he consistently appears at her coffee shop, offering simple kindness and listening without demands. Sophia, a single mother scarred by past hurts and initially pulls away, fearing the messiness of new emotions. Yet, their connection deepens through small, honest moments. Lost phones return lukewarm tea shared on park benches, and unspoken understandings that honor each other's scars. This tale tugs at the heart, reminding us that love isn't about fixing someone or forcing timelines. It's about respecting boundaries, enduring pauses, and trusting that waiting can forge unbreakable bonds. In our fast-paced world, where instant gratification often trumps depth, Lucas and Sophia's journey evokes a poignant ache for the slow-earned intimacy we all crave but rarely pursue. It whispers hope to those who have felt paused in their own stories. Healing comes not in rushing forward, but in staying present brick by brick, breath by breath. Have you ever waited through uncertainty for a connection that changed your life? Share your emotional experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear how patience shaped your heart. If the story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more tales of resilient love and turn on notifications so you never miss an inspiring update. Your support keeps these stories alive. Let's build a community of hopeful hearts together.